So hey everybody, it's Xilicks here, and welcome back to some PvP build footage talking about discussing builds. Um, Today we are re-looking at the Condition Ranger. So it has been well over a year since I first put out my first Condition Ranger build for SPVP, and I have made a lot of changes to it since then, and I feel it is a lot better now, a lot more reliable, and it'll do you better for 1v1s and team fights. So first thing, let's look at the pets. We are using a Lynx and a Reef Drake. The Reef Drake is used for the confusion it applies, and in my opinion it's better than, I believe we used a Snow Leopard before. It's a lot better than Snow Leopard. Its attacks do a lot of damage, especially the F2 ability, which applies confusion, which is a new condition that we now have on our build because of this pet, which we originally did not have. And then of course we're going with the Lynx because its leap skill applies a lot of bleeding, and some of its other skills apply bleeding, and it's just an overall good pet to have for a condition damage build. So now let's take a look at our weapons, sigils, runes, and amulet. So first, we are sticking with the Carrion Amulet. I feel that these are the best stats for Condition Ranger. You could also make a condition build with Rabid. I just feel that Carrion's better because of what we're going for. We're going for tanky, and you hit like a truck, and you stack conditions like crazy. I feel Carrion's better. That's just my opinion though. Looking at our weapons, we are using Shortbow and Axe Torch. Originally we were using Shortbow, Axe Warhorn. I feel that the Torch is better, obviously, for conditions. It applies burning, which we did not have any burning before. Now we have a lot of sources of burning, and I feel it's a better weapon. Now for Axe, I decided to stick with Axe. Our only other option would be Sword. Now Sword is good for condition stacking, but I feel like Axe will benefit you more. Axe gives you chill and weakness, which is very important. Chilling people can make their cooldowns last longer, and it makes them walk slower, and then weakness makes them do glancing blows, which is good. There's still the 5 stacks of bleed on Axe if you're close enough to them where all the Axe will hit. And then the auto attack ricochets, which I feel is a lot better than the sword auto attack, where although the sword auto attack does a lot of damage, it's single target, and I feel having the ability to have something that's multi-target is good for the build. Looking at sigils, on the shortbow, we're running a Sigil of Agony, which is 20% bleeding duration increase, and a Sigil of Doom. Your next attack after you swap to this weapon while in combat inflicts poison for 6 seconds. This build has a lot more poison than the other one does, and there's a reason why we're stacking a lot more poison. And then on the Axe and Torch, we have Force on the Axe and Smoldering on the Torch, which will give us an increased 20% burning duration. For rune choice, I go with Undead runes. I feel these are the best for this build because this gives you a little bit extra toughness, and you're getting toughness from your traits, which gives you a little bit more condition damage. You could really go with any condition rune that you feel comfortable with. I just find that Undead works the best for me and this build. So looking at our attributes here, our power without any might is just below 2000, which is not very high, but it will mean that since we're not critting, our actual attacks will at least be doing some damage compared to very little damage. Our toughness is just below, or just above 1300, which gives us 2300 armor, which is a lot of armor. It's definitely going to help us out a lot in fights by taking less damage. Our vitality is 1659, which gives us 22,000 health. I'm not sure if this is more or less health than the original build. I think it might be a little bit more health than the original build, just because we go into the nature magic line in our traits. Our condition damage is just below 1500, which I think is a little bit higher than the last time. And our condition duration is still at 30%, which makes our bleeding and our burning duration both at 50%. and our poison duration is at 80%, which is very high, and our boon duration is at 10% boon duration. So looking at the traits, we're going with 60620. The marksman traits are very different from the last time. We are now taking malicious training, which increases the durations of conditions applied by your pets. Both of our pets apply very important conditions to our build, so we want to make sure that duration is as high as possible. Keen Edge. Use Sharpening Stone whenever you strike a foe below 95%. So basically what this means is if we use Sharpening Stone, we get them below 75%, we get Sharpening Stone again. That's 10 stacks of bleed in a matter of seconds, because you're going to be bursting people down so quickly with this build. And then our final trait is Piercing Arrows. I like Piercing Arrows just because if you're in a team fight, or even if you're in a one-on-one and they have like ads or pets or anything, you'll be hitting more than just one target. You won't be obstructed by anything, so your arrows will be going through. So let's say if like someone has a pet on you, you'll be hitting your pet and them. It's just a great trait. You can stack more bleed because it's going through multiple targets, and I feel it really does a lot for this build. Looking at the minor traits, Opening Strike applies vulnerability whenever we attack. Second one, pets have Opening Strike, they apply 5 vulnerability, and then our first hit is a guaranteed crit for us and the pet. This doesn't affect us a lot, but for the pet, it does make the pet do extra damage, especially if you're starting off with the Lynx and you use the leap skill. It's going to make that leap skill do a lot more damage than it would have originally, and you stack 10 vulnerability at the beginning of the fight. Looking at Wilderness Survival, we have Wilderness Knowledge. This trait is vital for this build. 20% reduction on survival skills. This applies to 3 of the skills we're using, so very important to have. Offhand Training. This trait we did not have before. This reduces the recharge of offhand skills. Offhand skills also have a longer range. Since we're now using Torch, I feel like this trait's important. We can throw our Torch further, 1,200 range. It's pretty big range for this skill, and it also puts our Fire Field Bonfire on a shorter cooldown than what it would have been before. Our final trait, Poison Master. This is one of the new traits that's been added. This trait and Empathetic Bond have been the two that I've been kind of deciding over for a while which one to take. Empathetic Bond gives you a lot of condition clear, and that's something that we don't have a lot with this build. We're very low in condition clear, and this gives a lot of it. But I feel like Poison Master might be better for this build. After swapping pets, your pet's first attack will inflict poison, and your poison damage is increased. Sorry, poison duration, I said earlier before, poison duration was at 80%. My bad. I was thinking this was duration and not damage. This makes your poison damage do 50% more, not duration 50 increase. It's a lot of poison. So this means now our second attack, if all 5 of these arrows hit, it's going to be doing 3,494 damage if they do not clear it. That's pretty ridiculous. Whenever we swap pets, our pet also now applies poison for 3,145 damage. And this is why we're using the Doom Sigil. Whenever we swap, we're now putting 6 seconds of poison on our target with our next attack. It's pretty crazy. It's a lot of poison damage. I feel like it's worth taking over the Condi Clear trait just because of how much damage you're doing with your poison now. It's ridiculous. And then looking at the minor traits, we have increases endurance regeneration, so we get 25% extra endurance regeneration. You and your pet gain protection when you dodge roll. This is really important. You get a lot of protection by doing this. And then peak strength, deal extra damage while your health is above the threshold, and this is where we're going to be doing most of our damage. The threshold is 90%, and it gives you an extra 10% damage. Lastly, in Nature Magic, originally we had points in Beastmaster, now we have them in Nature Magic. We're going with Strength of Spirit, gain power based on your vitality. This is 7% extra power that we're now getting, and just by being in the Nature Magic line, we're getting a little bit extra health and more boon duration. And then for the minor trait, Rejuvenation, gain regeneration when your health drops below 75%, and it's 5 seconds of regen, which is a little bit of extra regen. And it will help us out a lot in a fight. So now let's look at our skills. So for our healing skill, we're using Healing Spring. Really, you can use whatever heal you want, except for the Water Spirit. Whichever one you want. I prefer Healing Spring just because the cooldown, although it's the longest out of all of them, it is a pretty big burst heal. It's a water field and it applies regeneration. I personally just feel that it's the best out of all of them. Heals 1's pretty good too. Really big heal, low cooldown, kind of long cast time, so you do have to worry about it getting interrupted. Also, Healing Spring cures conditions, which is another reason why I take it, or else we would have no condition clear. And then Troll's Unguent is good also, but I can't really justify it for this build. So we're going to now be looking at our DPS rotation. So what you're going to want to do... Wow, I completely forgot to go over the rest of the skills. Let's go over that first. We're now using Flame Trap instead of, I believe we were using Signet of the Wild before. This is a fire field when stepped on by something and it burns them. This gives us extra burning. Then we have Sharpening Stone, which applies 5 stacks of bleed with our next 5 attacks. Quickening Zephyr, which gives us quickness for 6 seconds on you and your pet. It's also Stunbreaker. And then Entangle, which does a lot of damage, a lot of bleed stacks, and Immobilize, and affects 5 targets. So basically what we're going to want to do is start in Axe Torch, sit down our Flame Trap, sit down our Bonfire, throw our Torch, use Spit Blade, switch. You should have also started with a Rending Pounce. And then when you're done with all that, Entangle, Sharpening Stone, Quickening Zephyr, Poison Volley, Crossfire. Okay, so you're gonna see it. It's a little crazy, but you're gonna see it in action right here. And 25 stacks of bleed. He's dead. That golem did not stand much of a chance. Now, he's gonna take a lot of bleeding damage now because Entangle stays there for 20 seconds. Let's just kill him again. So just to show you, this is just auto attacking. I'll wait for the Entangle to go away to demonstrate it again. So with our pet and just auto attacking, we can apply a pretty constant 10 stacks of bleed. We can even get a little bit higher. Yep, right, we're getting close to 20. No, we got to 18. So yeah, there's a lot of bleed. You always want to make sure you're behind your target or you're piercing, because for some reason piercing applies bleed. I'll demonstrate that. Yeah, so even if you're clearly in front of your target, if you pierce, it applies bleed. So that's one thing that you want to know. Not really a glitch, but an advantage that you have, I would say. So now I'm going to show you, as soon as Entangle comes off cooldown, how quickly we can burst. I think the Guardian's the tankiest, I want to say. So I'm going to wait for the cooldown, and then we will burst him. Also, one thing you want to keep in mind is whenever you're setting down your Flame Trap, make sure you're using your Axe Torch, just because it will give you the extra burning duration, since you have the Smoldering Sigil on your Torch, which you normally don't have whenever, well, you always don't have whenever you're on short bow. And usually you also want to start off a fight with Axe Torch, because then you get the benefit of the Doom Sigil on your short bow. So it looks like this guy is gonna completely not care that we were standing here. That's okay. I'll let him do his thing. Not like, oh, I'm gonna get pulled. Wow, that Guardian did a lot of damage. One Binding Blade, he did 25% of my health. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even know they could. Oh yeah, I remember they buffed them, but I did not know he could do that much damage. Okay. So let's go over here now that he is finished. Okay. So, Flame Trap, Bonfire, Throw Torch, Spitfire, Tangle. You can also switch to your pet, other pet, Reef Drake, that's it. Switch to your Reef Drake to apply Confusion. And yeah, this guy melted very quickly. Not much they can do whenever they're Condi bombed like that. Unless they have like a full condition clear skill of some kind. Not much they can do. So yeah, that's pretty much the new build in a nutshell. Yeah, not much else to say. I know I did kind of show you guys a half updated build whenever I streamed that one time, but it has been changed a lot since then. Those are the new traits, and that's how I feel that you can maximize your condition damage as a ranger with the current meta. So thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Xilicks. I'll see you guys next time. Okay, thanks, bye.